So next up, we're going to look at how to move a point on a screen. Okay, again, pause the video and type in the code and run it. Now, this is where we got to. I created a point, I hooked it onto this link here, then I used that to draw it. So if I run it, just so we quickly remember where we are, there we are, there's the point, and it's black because that's the default starting point. Now, let's pause, let's change a couple of things, right? But let's concentrate on moving for the time being. We'll come back to drawing in a second. If I move it 20x, which means going across the horizontal, it's going to shift 20 pixels to the right, and I'm going to shift it 10 pixels to downwards, right? And then draw it again, right? Let's just see what happens. Well, the problem with these 3 lines of code is that I can't see that I've moved it. I don't know about you, but have I moved it 20 across and gone 10 down? I don't know if I have, right? So what I'm going to do is, you see I've created my pause, and I'm only doing this to show you. I'm going to put my pause function in. Now, if you're wondering what actually this pause function is, all it is just a get mouse. And what that does is it waits here for me to click the screen, then it will run that line of code. And the advantage when I'm demonstrating this to you is that you can see things change. Okay, so I'm putting a pause between my first drawing of it at that location, pausing it, and then I'm going to move it. Okay, let's save. Always save before you run. Let's shift it over. There it is there. If I click it, did you see it move? It moved 20 across and 10 down. Let's just play around with that so you can see. Let's not make it go down, right? Let's just get it to move across by 200. Okay, so you can see that happen. So let's run that again. Bear with me a second. That window needs to be closed. Right, save, run. Bring it over so you can see it. Right, there it is there at 100 across and 300 down. That's where it's sitting. Look at the code over here to make sure. Now I'll click the screen, which is going to nudge it forward. So that's me running that line. And did you see it jumped across 200 pixels? So if you had to write a piece of code and you had to move something, this is how you would do it. You use the move function. Now the move is very, very interesting because lots of graphic windows use a move function. Okay, so what I want to do first of all is introduce something else just for the demonstration purposes. I'm going to use the tools in Python called time, everything related to time, and I'm going to grab hold of all of those. And the one I'm interested in using is something called sleep. Sleep pauses the program for that period. So if I sleep it for say 3 seconds, okay, and I put it in that line there, what it's going to do is draw the first point, it's going to pause for 3 seconds, and it's going to move it there. Hopefully by doing that you will be able to see this happen on screen. Let's drag it across. I've just run it, and I'm not sure if that was evident at all because the screen was in the wrong place. So bear with me a second. Because my screen keeps on appearing on the corner of the thing, I've put a pause as soon as I display the screen. That then gives me a chance to drag it across so you can see it and then run it. So this line of code is just there for demonstration. You don't have to add it to your code. Okay, so let's just run this again. See, it pops out not properly on the screen. I'm going to bring it across. Now when I click it, it's going to run that line, and then it's going to pause for 3 seconds, then it's going to move the object. So if I click, watch, there it is there. Give it 3 seconds, wait, and there it goes over there. Okay, and that was the move function. If you do not have this time sleep, I'm hoping you'll believe that if I draw a point there and I have this move afterwards, it's going to actually move it. But I'm not going to see it move necessarily. Okay, so it's worth thinking about how that all fits together and how that works. Now, what I would recommend you do is play with this a bit. Now the easiest way of playing with it is actually stick these two lines in a loop. If I pause it for 3 seconds, then move it, I don't know, let's not make it 20, let's make it 200, sorry, let's make it 20 every time. So let's stick it into a loop. Now here's a simple loop, and I think this is in one of your worksheets, so I'll just grab the same kind of code so you'll see. If I do for I in range, and I'll explain what this means, and I put a number here, 10, right? At the end of this line I've got to put a code on, and these two lines have to be shifted across. So what have I just done then? Okay, in the remainder of this video I'm going to just talk you through this code. This is a loop, and what runs when each time this loop goes round are these two lines. So basically it's going to pause 3 seconds, move it another 20 across. Pause it for 3 seconds, move it across, pause it, blah, blah, blah. How many times is it going to do that? 10 times. That's what this number here means. It says, here's a value. If you want to use that value, which I'll show you in a second, don't worry about it for the moment, but for 10 times loops, it's going to run those bits of code. So shall we just see it in action? Right, let's drag our screen across. Remember, I've got a little pause up here to stop it from doing anything. Then click to see this loop go. Let's watch it. So there it is there. 3 seconds, it's moved across. 3 seconds, it's moved across. 3 seconds, it's moved across. It's going to do this 10 times. So while it's doing it, you just watch how it moves across. Look at this code over here. Now here's a nice little trick. You can change how much it moves by using this number here. This number here is going to be, it's going to pick from 0 to 9 from here, and it's going to go up. Time being, don't worry about it. If you feel inclined, play with it. You notice it's still going. There you go. Put my cursor. You can see it's going to should jump across again in a second. Or have we reached the end? Oh, we might have reached the end. That's the end of the loop. So it moved in 20 pixel steps going that way across. Now let's do the same thing coming downwards. Right? So instead of this horizontal, we're going to keep that as its normal. So if I put 0 into the move, it's not going to shift it from that location there. And here, if I do, say, 10 pixels, let's watch what it does, shall we? Let's make the interval a little bit shorter so you can see it move a little bit faster. Right, so it's only going to pause for 10 before. Let's run it, drag it over, release the application. Now watch. Down it comes. 10 pixels a time. So that's how you move a point. Before I finish this video, what I'd like you to do is just to keep on going, but it seems to have stopped. I don't think it counted that many. Anyway, we'll worry about that later. What I'd like you to do is play with this. Create a point object at some starting point, create a little loop, put a pause in, and then move it around the screen. What I'm going to do very quickly, I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to add in another point, another loop, within that same loop, and I'm going to move it in a different way. Watch this. So first of all, I'll create another point. I've used a different letter. So my second point, I'm going to start it in the same place, right? I'm going to draw it to the window as I've drawn the other one, so it's q.draw, right? I'm doing this quickly, so hopefully you can follow. I've got too many brackets here, so let's get rid of one extra. Then inside here, I'm not going to just move P, I'm going to move Q. So Q will move, and Q will move down, P moves across. Watch what happens here. So inside this loop, Q and P. Let's see if I can just capture this. Ready? Let's go, run. Grab that over there, click, and nothing happens. Bear with me a second. Right, have a look. I've got a second point, and I've added in that. One's going to go down, one's going to go across. Let's run it very quickly before the video ends. Now watch this. There's 2 points, P and Q. There's one going across, which is the Q, which is the horizontal, and the P's coming down. And it looks like they're separating. Isn't that smart?